Learner's permit.
Learner's permit.
Learner's permit.
Learner's permit.
Learner's Permit. Hello, and welcome to the Learner's Permit podcast, a show where four friends lock themselves in a room and forcefully educate each other on the topics they're most passionate about. Each week, one host selects a subject to educate the other three about in hopes of broadening their woefully narrow horizons. I'm your host, Liam. I wrote the book on bad ideas, but my co-hosts love to pull from it.
I love that line.
And who are you?
I'm Kody. That was Austin.
Thank you, Kody. You have a wonderful start. Wonderful start.
Good job, boys.
So
Again,
we're
well, here's the big thing.
Okay.
We're recording this the night before the election, the eve of the election, and Adam's not here. He's not here, boys.
Why do you think he made it conditional last episode when he explained, hey,
That he was going to be
I'm
taking
probably
a couple
not going to be
weeks.
around for a little while. It's because if a certain person wins, he's going to be pretty busy, let's just say. And if the other person wins, he'll be less busy and he'll be back on the show. But look,
he had a Mr. Boss moment from Smiling Friends where it's like, if he wins, then I'm probably just gonna shoot him.
We don't put it so plainly. Austin. That's all I want to say.
Can't say that.
But anyway, we're down a man. And we're breaking format a little bit.
I'm quoting
this week.
Smiling Friends. It's a quote from Smiling Friends. I'll show you guys.
I've seen it.
We're breaking format a little bit this week. There's three of us, and this is a conversation that sort of popped up in a previous episode and actually sort of overtook the entire topic of that previous episode.
The Barkley Marathon.
Yes, the Barkley Marathon unfortunately didn't get its due on this show because Austin was very passionate about something that surprised me. So, Austin, do you want to share what that hypothetical was that really got you going?
Yeah, so as everybody knows, I'm a huge Max Payne fan, and one of my friends in high school growing up was a huge Batman fan, and I don't know how we got on the topic, but basically he said that Batman would beat the shit out of Max Payne, and I was like, bro, he literally is the most accurate human being on planet Earth. He would just shoot Batman in his eye sockets and then in his mouth for like sport after he killed him. While Batman was like jumping down from the roof trying to kill him and jump on him like he does in the Arkham games. So it was like a whole high school argument that we had. I forgot to look for actually drew some art for an art class project for it, and I meant to look for it while I was at the house today, and I forgot to. So
You drew some art of them fighting?
No, it's just like more of a I don't know how to explain it. More of just like an homage to the both of them. It's all done in black and white. Like it's not a detailed drawing.
That is cool. You should find that so that we can attach it here somewhere. But
you can
I
use
just
it on
wanted to
the
let you.
the episode title if you want.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to let you know that we live in the modern age, Austin. We live in the modern age, so you don't have to worry about not bringing the art that you made because we have artificial intelligence to be able to make such a thing. So if you wanted, I just posted a link to an AI-generated YouTube video, which is, and we'll post the link in the description, I'm sure. It is a video of Max Payne versus the Batman, AI-generated voice dialogue and images.
The fuck?
Why did you not send this before?
What do you mean?
I would have watched this today.
No, it's okay. It's okay. This is more for private viewing, for your own enjoyment.
This was posted 11 days ago.
Yeah, the internet is, it's the production speed is so quick now.
But you know what I love about this? Is that the AI generation is so scary good that I don't know how to word this. I'm not trying to give props to the AI, but it knows enough that when it's generating Max Payne, it's generating James McCaffrey's face as Max Payne, not like the weird
not
Max
Sam
Payne
Lake.
one. Yeah, not Sam Lake, like his weird side smile, like Max Payne one. It's doing James McCaffrey, which I think is pretty impressive. But yeah, that's I'm gonna have to watch this. It's fucking 8 minutes long. Who made this? Did you do this?
No, I didn't make it. I'm not an artificial intelligence. I am a
I didn't know if
suboptimal intelligence is what I am.
I didn't know if you prompted it to do that.
Only spiritually. That's all. But yeah, so I just think I think this is the subject we're talking about this week: Max Payne versus Batman. You know, and I am a big fan of the movie, specifically the movie The Batman. A lot of people are crazy about the Nolan trilogy, you know, The Dark Knight and all that. Those are fine, but I saw The Batman when it was in theaters. It was 3 hours and 20 minutes long, which is insane.
It's long. I didn't know how long it was when I first started it. Like I thought it was going to be just under 2 hours or something. And then I was like, holy shit, I got to go to bed. I'm only an hour in and there's still 2 hours left.
Yep. I saw it in theaters in a theater with a family of what seemed to be a family of developmentally disabled people who were sitting in our seats when we showed up. And then we very politely asked them to move down. They did. They moved down not enough seats. So we had to move them again. And then the one of the guys was was reclining in the seats because they got those nice reclining seats, and he was kicking his feet during the movie and farting.
Oh,
and then when
average Batman fan,
I was gonna say the classic Batman villain, the fartster.
When you see the fartster, when you saw the first shot of Wayne Tower, he said very loudly to the entire theater, "Look, it's Wayne Tower." It was a good time. I actually made the experience much more enjoyable, honestly, just to see the joy on that guy's face. But I saw it in theaters, and something about it really spoke to me because it's the first freak ass Batman movie. The first movie that really, I think, acknowledges the reality that a man who dresses up in a big rubber suit and beats people up at night and brings them to jail where they will inevitably just get released because there was no due process.
Yep.
Like I think it's the first movie to actually correctly address that.
Yep.
And so when you were saying, "Oh, Max Payne versus the Batman, Max Payne would kill him," I was like, I think there's an interesting conversation to be had here because Max Payne is, like you said, he's a crack shot with a gun. He's a former undercover detective, right? Who kind of has like the Axel Foley vibe of like he's the chief's pain in the ass. He's always causing problems and stuff, even before tragedy hits him.
Yeah, it's he was originally a New York detective, and then after his family gets killed by a designer drug named V, he joins the DEA and vows to revenge his family. So it's
revenge his family.
Yeah, I use that because Metal Gear uses that, but
he does get revengeance for his family.
Yeah, he does get revengeance for his family. But so the whole thing is a conspiracy thriller, and the motives are kind of the same, right? Whereas like Max joins because of the death of his, what is it called? Like when you marry into a family, like
his in-laws?
No, not his in-laws. His direct family, his wife and his child, right? So it's not parents, but it's still the same deal. But Max does it in a way that does scare me a little bit as an adult of like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this and I'm going to go to great lengths as a sworn officer of the law to any regard that I can to make sure that I find the people that killed my family, right? So that is almost just as bad as the vigilanteism in the way of like, yeah, I'm just going to go completely outside the law and do whatever I want and beat up all these people. Like that's all I could think about the whole time during the Batman was like when I keep wanting to call him Commissioner Gordon, but when Detective Gordon at the time,
Lieutenant Gordon,
Lieutenant Gordon, when he was talking to the Batman and he's like about to stick his neck out for him, he's like, "You're gonna punch me in the face and you're gonna run." I was thinking about this and I was like, "You're gonna sacrifice your whole career,
okay.
right now on like a hunch."
Hold the thought on that because I actually have a whole thing I want to talk about with Lieutenant Gordon and his relationship to the GCPD. But no, so you're right. Like there is a big parallel between Batman's quest for vengeance and Max Payne's quest for vengeance. I would argue that Max Payne's is almost worse though, because at least Batman, while he is a billionaire and is a psychopath, at least he's operating as a private citizen. Like all of his actions are of his own accord and through his own means. And yes, he's got way more means than anybody else in the world, basically. But like he doesn't have the backing of the police force who witness him murder people relatively indiscriminately and then just kind of go, oh, damn it. Damn it, Max.
It only gets worse as I think the one that probably is the least egregious in that regard in the Max Payne games is the third one, because he's not part of a police department. He's part of a personal security detail. But in the first two games, he's the first one, the whole thing is advertised as like a man with nothing to lose, a fugitive from the law. But like they basically frame, because he's an undercover DEA agent using his real name for some reason.
Well, it's the Bond, James Bond type deal, you know.
Yeah. Payne, Max
International super spy. My reputation precedes me.
That's my favorite thing about these games is he like waltzes into the den of these criminals, and then they basically invite him in. He goes to talk to the head guy, and then they're like, "I'm so glad you showed up. I was waiting for you. Now I'm gonna kill you." And then he shoots his way out of this fucking drug-infested den. But so in the first one, instead of just turning himself into the police, this isn't a Departed moment here. Like this isn't Matt Damon trying to bring somebody out. It's like, sure, there's a mole in the DEA and they killed his partner, but like also if you put someone undercover in, why is it such a trope for them to be like, only one guy knows about it? There's only one guy because we don't want it to get out. Like that sounds like a recipe for disaster, because I think his name was Alex or something. His handler, like the guy that knew that he was in the criminal organization, is shot and killed. And so now his leap in logic is like, oh, no one knows that I'm actually a cop, so I'm just going to go after all the people and solve this case. When in reality, I'm like, okay, as soon as that happens, I'm going to the police department. I'm like, hey, my name is Max Payne. Look up my fucking
I'm on
records.
Your payroll. Here's my social security number. You're paying me.
Yep.
Like I'm actively getting paid by you. I went to the academy.
It's pretty easy. And it's like the justification, like once you get to the end of the game, right? You're like, okay, sure. If you had all the pieces to the puzzle at the very beginning, then you might be like, oh, well, Nicole Horn is a huge piece of shit who's like owning a pharmaceutical company, who's working with the military and embezzling funds and all this craziness.
Big conspiracy.
Yeah, big conspiracy, and I love that stuff. But it's like, to get to that point, he had to take a whole bunch of leaps of faith and like basically lean into the fugitive from the law thing and just go crazy with it. And it's just a wild story. And I think you're right in the way that, like, if you're a sworn officer of the law, you should probably conduct yourself a little bit more accordingly than Bruce Wayne, the psychotic billionaire that wanders around with, like, and they don't even really talk about why he's as smart or strong as he
Bruce
is
Wayne?
in the Batman. They just assume that you kind of
okay. So I think we can all acknowledge here that there's a lot of parallels between Max Payne and Batman. They both lost their family. Sure. It traumatized them, and then it sets them off on this sort of psychotic rampage for vengeance. They do it in different ways, but ultimately the outcome ends up being pretty similar. They have different skills, obviously. Batman is rich. Max is good at shooting guns. You know, those I would say those are their main skills, because at the end of the day, they're both just regular guys. You know, for the most part, if you took those two things away, they would just be normal human beings that you could squish with a hammer. You know? So like you know, if they fall the wrong way, they could die. They're not like Superman.
Yeah.
Right? Do you think Superman can break his neck in the shower?
Wait, hold on. Excuse me, one more time. Like he falls and breaks his neck?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's the one inducing the injury, right?
Yeah,
like,
so that's what I mean. Like he could break his own finger, right? He could probably break his neck.
Like he could do it. Yeah. The only way I could imagine Superman breaking his own neck if he is like, oh no, I'm shampoo and conditioning, and he like gets a grip and just breaks his fucking own neck. That's the only way I can imagine it happening.
Just scrubs too hard. Does that mean that Peter Parker can do the same?
Oh, dude, imagine if he cut his own, like he's scrubbing his balls. He's like karate chops his dick off.
Superman or Peter Parker?
Am I the only one?
I think you're the only one, Kody.
What if Spider-Man's hands got stuck to his nuts and he went to go rip away?
Okay, I see what you're saying. Like fucking traumatic scrotal injury. I see what you mean. Yeah, that'd be bad. And I bet Spider-Man's done that to himself. But we're not talking Spider-Man. We're talking Batman and Max Payne. Save that thought for another episode, Kody. We're talking Batman and Max Payne, and I wanted to bring up that they're very similar because when we had that discussion about who would beat who, you and I disagreed, and you got very passionate. Because I said, well, Batman could just develop a lower half of his visor so there's no exposed part of his face. And then what would Max Payne do? Which is valid, but also you'd have to know that Max Payne was amazingly good at shooting bullets. But, you know, if we wanted to get into the nitty gritty of it, of any version of Batman, you know, versus Max Payne in whatever his height is in your mind, you could talk about the fact that Batman has multiple villains that he faces off against whose specifically only ability is that they're really good at shooting guns.
Yeah, but I just don't think they ever implement them. Like, they build them up like that, right? Like, Deadshot theoretically should be able to do the exact same thing. They always talk about, like, how meticulous he is about choosing grain weight, and his optics are all fucking linked to his helmet and all this stuff. You know what? I think that he's just bluffing. I think that Deadshot just says all this shit, and he's like, he might be an Olympic level shooter, right? Like, he might be amazing.
He's that Ukrainian guy in the jeans with no ear protection.
Yeah, no, that was the Turkish guy.
Oh yeah, sorry, Turkish guy.
Yeah, he's just a Turkish mechanic that went to the Olympics and fucking. I think Deadshot just has all that fucking shit on for show. But
he just likes to dress up.
Yeah, well, because if he was capable of doing what he says he's capable of doing, and what he showed a lot of skill in the times he showed up in the Batman series, but Max Payne can literally put a bullet anywhere that he wants to. Like, when you play the games, aside from maybe the first and second one, because they have a little bit of bullet spread in them, but by the time you get to the third one, the rounds literally go exactly where you put them. Like, that little circle dot, and if you don't use just the dot in Max Payne 3, you're a psychopath, and I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, Austin, I brought up the Deadshot thing not because I wanted to discuss it, because I wanted to point out that if you were to take Batman in his totality, it'd be way too wide of a conversation. You'd have way too many hypotheticals and all this stuff. Yeah. Right? You know, Max Payne's got 3 games and maybe some spin-off comics or something. Not much.
He's got 3 games, 1 really shitty fucking movie, and then he has
talk about that.
He has promotional comics that came out for Max Payne 3, and that's basically just a little prologue to Max Payne 3 is basically it.
So our thinking with this discussion was that we would boil it down to just 2 very specific versions of the characters, right?
Okay.
And those specific versions are Max Payne from Max Payne 3 versus Batman from the Matt Reeves, the Batman. Yes. Featuring Robert Pattinson.
Edward Cullen. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Robert Pattinson, if you will.
Yes.
Yes. So I replayed Max Payne 3 sort of in prep for this, because I had played like half of it way back when, maybe a couple years after it came out. And it had been a long time. I didn't remember much. The moment that I started the game, I realized that this conversation was going to be a lot less of a debate and more of just a general discussion about how crazy similar these 2 versions of these characters are. Because Max Payne 3 starts with him binge drinking and taking pills in a shitty, dingy apartment in his underwear.
In his brand new apartment, yeah.
Crying to himself for 7 minutes. Just like belligerent shots of him just drinking and crying and farting in an apartment, basically.
But as far as like how that is shot, I think it's awesome. Like, I think that intro is fucking amazing. Like, between the music and like the hard cuts and shit, or just like that one longing shot of him looking at the duffel bag, knowing like, hey, I've got to, not only am I going to unpack my life here, but I know that the photo of my family is sitting in that duffel bag. And the moment that I unpack that shit, literally, like, and emotionally, I'm gonna have to deal with it. And I actually love how they set that up. And then as soon as he does that, he looks at it, and he doesn't take his bag apart and start putting things out. He goes to the fucking liquor store. He goes to the corner store and he grabs fucking alcohol. So I think that the symbolism for that is done beautifully. So it's not
subtle in the slightest, but I think it does the exact same. It showcases this is a guy who cannot face his trauma head on, right?
Yeah.
Now, you, and Kody also rewatched, you watched The Batman for the first time in prep for this.
Yeah.
Now, do you remember how the movie starts?
Yeah. So, well, okay. So maybe this isn't exactly how it starts. Is this the face paint people, right?
So it starts with voiceover from Batman reading from his diary, talking about how he's not sure that he's made any kind of a difference.
Oh, yep. And he's like walking. He's walking.
I don't
in the
even
rain,
know if any
right?
of this is doing anything. Yes, and
That
it's
was
him
really good.
suiting up to go beat the shit out of a bunch of Joker-esque looking people who are about to mug a
Pussies.
guy. But it is literally him getting ready to go do so his alcohol is dressing up in a big rubber suit and beating the shit out of strangers. Whereas Max's is getting drunk, doing pills, and shooting people to death. You know?
And both of them are looking for answers, right?
Mhm.
Any way that they can justify it. But the funny thing to me about the Robert Pattinson thing was they tried to go a little bit more realistic of how Batman gets around. Like they don't default to the Batmobile because that would also be really unhinged. They default to like, oh yeah, he dresses up like a motorcyclist and wanders around on his bike, which introduces it introduces a whole host of other problems that I have, right? Like his bat suit fits in the backpack.
Yeah.
What if he has a
And
bunch
then
of bat suits around the city?
How long does it take him to change into the bat suit?
How
You
long
know,
does
the
it
thing
take
is,
you to
the
change?
movie is not super interested in exploring that. Although, to the effect of how long does it take him to change into it, you don't see much of that. But what you do see is him changing out of it, because when he takes
With
the
fucking
mask off, when he
eyeliner.
gets home, he's got the black face paint grease, the grease paint under all over his eyes, and he just looks like a psychopath.
Austin, how long does that shit take to get off?
So actually the eyes is the worst part of it. So the fact that if he had to I don't remember exactly, but there's moments in the movie where he leaves as Batman and then shows up to talk to somebody and his face is clear. Fuck no, dude. So there's like a common joke that went around.
They don't do that really at all in the movie. I don't think that there's a single instance where he is Batman and then quickly has to change to become Bruce Wayne.
But I mean like the next day, right? Like the next day he'll go and talk to Alfred or whatever. In the army, there's like a running joke. When we came back from like the field or whatever, they made us wear fucking face paint, and you'd come back and everybody the next day would have like Panic at the Disco fucking emo boy eye sockets. Like it takes a long time to get that shit out of like the depressed areas on your face and shit like that.
When I put my costume paint thing on that line with the marks, I scrubbed my face for 20 minutes before going to bed that night. Didn't fucking come off. Then the next morning I spent another 20 minutes. My face is still dry. It's been a week and a half.
Now here's what I would need to say in response to this.
Baby wipes are the best way to get it off.
Well, that's what you think. That's what you think, and not to put too fine a point on it, but poor. We're talking about Bruce Wayne, Playboy billionaire, okay? He's probably got access to the most designer, state-of-the-art cleansers in the whole, or makeup removers.
Jeffree Star makeup removers.
Absolutely. He's probably working directly with whatever Gotham's equivalent of Kim Kardashian is to, get the most high-profile makeup removers so that he can get his shit off. Yeah, I just think both of these guys are fucked up. They're totally fucked in the head.
Do you think?
And one of the other things,
yes.
I think it's. Well, the answer is yes, but I also think in both of their cases, it's far too late for that. Max would die from cirrhosis of the liver far before he could ever even find a therapist's phone number. That's just the truth.
He found the sex hotline. Like, so he literally, in lieu of therapy in Max Payne 2, he calls a sex hotline and they give out like 3 names of the women that are on the line that you can choose from. Right. And so in Max Payne 2,
her name's Candy with an I, by the way.
Candy might have been one of them. I don't remember. But in the first game, Max thinks that Mona, who's one of the characters, who's like a hit woman, I guess is the proper term, that works for the mob. And she ends up helping him at the end of the game. And she gets shot and presumably dies in an elevator. And then the elevator doors shut, all dramatic. And the elevator goes down. And he's all like, oh, she died. I can't believe it. This is awful. That gives him like one more thing to be upset about, right? Like, this woman helped me in my hour of need to go take down this pharmaceutical company. It's my fault. So in the second game, he's working through that, and he calls a sex phone line, and one of the girls' names happens to be Mona. So he presses like, hey, 3 for Mona. I want to talk to her. I'll send you guys a clip of what goes on in it. He literally, she starts talking. He's like, hey, how you doing? And he immediately goes like, they're all dead, but it didn't fix any of my problems. Do you think that somebody can come back from something like this? Like, can I still be saved? Like, literally that level of stuff.
How do you fix something like that? How do you make amends? I thought it would help, but it only made it worse.
Just give me your credit card number and I can listen to you all night.
Killing them all only made it worse. It didn't bring them back.
Hey, what are you, some kind of weirdo?
It is really funny because him just like not directly addressing what is actually weighing on his conscience and calling a sex line. Honestly, it's very similar to the beginning of the Batman when the mayor gets murdered, and then Batman shows up to the crime scene, and all the cops are like, "What the fuck are you doing here? Get out of here!"
And then
Gordon's like, "He's good," and then Batman goes in and proceeds to stare at the mayor's son, who's being consoled after the murder of his father. Just silently stare at the kid for like such a long. No, and I thought I forgot that it was this long. It's actually so long that Gordon says to him, we really got to go, man. Like, we got to get out of here. Come on.
Do you think Gordon thinks that he's a wow?
I wouldn't. I couldn't tell you, honestly. I doubt that, though, because Gordon later on in the film says, you're the only one that I trust.
Yeah, I was about to say, Gordon ends up trusting him impeccably to the point where presumably he's worked with most of those guys on the force for years. For years. And like, I grew up around a lot of cops. They have a pretty tight group. And for Gordon to be like, yeah, I know Joey that I get beers with at the fucking bar after every shift. No, I don't trust that guy. He's going to be in the horde of cops that are going to be chasing this crazy dude that I really like, that I'm going to help escape. That scene is literally like waves of cops like falling over each other.
Fuck, do they know exactly where he's going? Also, they're just opening fire in the middle of a goddamn precinct with civilians and like secretaries carrying papers and shit.
They're all corrupt greaseballs. They're all corrupt. I mean, that is literally what they are. They're all on the payroll of the Falcone family, you know?
But we know that that's not true because at the end of the movie, when Gordon's like, not all of us, and they're still like dudes. So you have to imagine that there were regular clean cops in that group that were just whipping out their Glocks and shooting up a spiral staircase at Batman.
So here's
they heard it.
I wanted to loosely describe the plot of both of these pieces of media before we got to this point, but I think we just have to address it because we're here now. So Gordon implicitly trusts Batman in the Batman movie, right? And it's established that Batman's only been operating for almost 2 years at this point because he's in his second year of being Batman. So he hasn't been doing for that long. So in that time, he has somehow gained the trust of Gordon and only Gordon in the police department, right?
Yeah. And enough so that he put a fucking bat signal.
That's what I wanted to get to. How the fuck did Gordon get a bat signal built when nobody else in the entire precinct trusts Batman or has the same relationship to him?
Batman.
He's not the commissioner. He could not have gotten that.
Batman.
That would be way too many questions. That would be way too many questions.
$23,000 of the city taxpayer money so I can put in this giant spotlight.
So we can get this vigilante to show up, maybe.
And in this version, the Gotham City Police Department, like whatever the head precinct is called, has a little bit of the case of Resident Evil here, where it looks like it's a fucking old museum and it's all like very gothic looking.
Oh yeah,
and
it's that Art Deco look to it. Yeah, very much so. I mean, it's like aping the classic, almost like the animated series. I don't know if you guys ever watched that. No, the style of the architecture, but. Yeah, so that's when I rewatched the movie, that was my one question from the whole thing. My one gripe with the movie is how the fuck did they get the bat signal built when nobody trusts him except Gordon? Yeah. As for Gordon trusting him implicitly over all the other cops, I have a very simple answer for that. It's because the movie shows us that Gordon is a really fucking shitty detective too. So Batman's a really bad detective in the Batman. Like to the point where he does not solve any of the riddles that The movie follows Batman as he is investigating with Gordon a series of murders committed by the Riddler, played by Paul Dano, who's great. Yep. And Batman is trying to solve all these riddles, and he just doesn't solve any of them. In fact, I would say that a good half of the movie is him trying to chase down a specific clue, a birthday card that says El Rata Alada. And he, Gordon reads it off the birthday card to him because the Riddler's been leaving these birthday cards. And he says, hey, does that mean anything to you? Or he says that to Gordon, and Gordon says, yeah, stool pigeon. Stool pigeon, okay. That's your first thing? Rat with wings? Yeah, stool pigeon. That's a term for a stool pigeon, that's for sure. And then instead of stool pigeon, they think stool pigeon, it must be, some kind of lackey. But then they also go, stool pigeon, a rat with wings, that must be a penguin.
A penguin.
And it takes them going and catching up to the penguin, which, by the way, they inadvertently kill multiple people, presumably, in this chase. There's a giant pileup on the highway where the penguin rams into a tanker truck that then, falls over and causes a massive explosion on the highway. Multiple people die. Almost guaranteed. Yeah. Batman does not stop to save them. Instead, he jumps his car over the big explosion on the highway and catches the penguin. Only for the penguin to then tell him, rat with wings, are you fucking stupid? Do you not speak Spanish? Rat with wings is you, buddy.
I love that just some random fucking mob guy is like, what are you fucking, you're just supposed to be the world's greatest detective here.
Low-level Guido putting Batman in his place.
You can't speak Spanish? What the fuck?
Well, to be fair, Alfred was the one that was like, my Spanish is a little bit rusty. Here you go.
Yeah, but so I'm not going to shit on Alfred because he solves every other goddamn fucking riddle. Literally, Alfred just solves every problem to the point where they had to blow him up so that he didn't get any more help. They literally were like, oh, fucking Alfred's too good at solving all this shit. Fucking Robert Pattinson stayed up all night trying to figure out what this cipher was. And Alfred was like, oh, did you try this? And he's like, yeah, I tried it, but it didn't work because I knew it was going to be too easy. That's way too easy of an answer. And Alfred's like, I'm just going to try it. Easy. Yeah, I'm just going to try it. Let's see what happens. And then he takes 20 minutes to try it the way that he said. And guess what? He fucking solves it. I don't even remember. And he's like, hey, look, Wayne, I got you this thing. Or Bruce, I got you this cipher. And he's like, what did you do? He's like, I tried the thing that you said was going to be too easy. And that's how it worked. So the whole time, Alfred's just overpowered.
Okay. To be fair to Batman there, and I'm not trying to say this to be like he's a good detective, because he's not. And to paint the relationship between him and Alfred in this movie, just for listeners who haven't seen it, when Batman gets back from that first scene of the movie, he's greeted by Alfred, who basically says, Master Wayne, you might want to try to pay attention to some of the business stuff and tend to that, because your family's fortune is not it's dwindling. And I worry about you, going out there and just focusing so much on this. And then Bruce Wayne's response to this is, you're not my dad. Literally, you're not my dad.
You have the audacity to wear those cufflinks like that? You're not part of this family.
He's just like a child. But with the cipher in particular, though, when Alfred says, I was in the military, it's just a cipher, so here's what it is. Batman does come and say, well, what if it was just the ones that are decoded? What if we just try to see what it looks like if we just do the easy stuff that we already figured out? And then that works.
Oh, okay.
Because while the Batman is not a good detective, the Riddler is also not very good at making riddles in this movie, which is wonderful.
Because they're not the traditional, Batman's, the Riddler's, riddles in the original Batman, rhymed or were playful or had more substance to them. This one's literally what's black and blue all over?
The mayor, when I blow his ass up.
Yeah, right. It's just no, you idiot, it's actually this. And then they figure it's I don't even know. It's
what do liars do when they die? They lie still.
Yeah, they lie. That's a dad joke.
It.
That's not a riddle. Yeah, that's not a riddle.
Okay, well, actually, that's a bad example because that's pretty on par with a riddle that the classic Riddler would probably have. Honestly, that was maybe the only one in the movie that would fit. But, there's a reason for that. There's a reason that the riddles are not playful. It's because the Riddler in this movie is a YouTuber incel.
Dude, I actually have
He has 500 subscribers. He is massively influential.
And did you guys pay attention to the chat when they were showing like the recovered?
Yes.
So, but this is what's really sad about this, right? When I first saw what his costume was, I was like, one, what the fuck? It's just like a whole bunch of blacked out shit. And the first thing that I noticed was, wow, that's like an extreme cold weather combat mask that he's wearing. That's fucking gross, to the point where even when I was in the army and we accidentally ordered like a whole bunch of them, the supply NCO was like, oh dude, what the fuck, I didn't mean to order these, because the NSN number, and for anyone that doesn't know, it's a national stock number, the number was one off from what he was trying to order. So he accidentally ordered like 100 count of these fucking masks. And the whole time we were making jokes like, this looks like something that a fucking serial killer or like some random fucking killer would be wearing, right? And then here it is in a fucking Batman movie. And I immediately clocked it. And then when you watch the chat, when they're all like, hey bro, I stand behind you, bro, get on it, bro. In the chat, somebody put, oh, he's wearing a cold weather combat mask. You can get them at Gotham City Surplus. And I was like, oh my God.
That's awesome.
Call out.
I thought it was so funny. I was like, God damn it, am I the incel in the chat?
The movie is 100% aware of how it's portraying the characters.
Oh, yeah.
This is the first movie that has active contempt for the concept of Batman and the character of Batman, I think. And not in like a bad way, in a very good way, because it actually grapples with the reality of what this guy would be like. A weird, smelly freak. And his villain, naturally, is a guy who you spend the whole movie thinking that he's like trying to target, like Batman thinks that, oh, Bruce Wayne's the target. He's gonna try to get me, Batman, after he gets Bruce Wayne. But no, the whole movie is the Riddler literally writing cards to the Batman, trying to be like, we're in this together, buddy. Like, we're friends. We mean the same. We're doing the same stuff, you know? You're my friend.
Yep.
Also, I know who the fuck you are.
Except he doesn't know who he is, which is the funniest part, is that he has no idea who Batman is.
Well, because he was guessing, right? Like he
did not know there was any connection between Bruce Wayne and Batman. That's the whole fucking thing, is that he sends the bomb to Bruce Wayne. It blows up Alfred. The next clue has something to do with a bat. Or I think, is it that that's when the orphanage happens? Or is it, do they get back from the orphanage to the bomb? Okay, yeah.
The bomb goes off on his way back from the orphanage.
Because then he meets him.
Because Batman abandons the fuck out of Gordon in the orphanage. We need to get back. He does.
He's like, I'm getting out of here.
But also, what the fuck? Like, you're telling me that the crackheads that live in the orphanage allowed the Riddler to show up in his fucking goddamn gimp suit and set up a projector, and he was like, "Don't mind me, guys. Just I'm gonna put this in the other room. Like, just don't go in there for a little while. Like, I'm gonna play this. It's gonna get really annoying. It might be going for hours, but just don't touch it. Don't touch it, because if you touch it, it's gonna ruin it."
They're all on drops. They're all high out of their mind. You know, it's established that they're junkies. They're drop heads. Yeah, come on.
But you're telling me if there's a whole fucking platoon's worth of guys who are high in another room and they hear somebody fucking around with a fucking projector and a stereo system, they're not gonna go fuck with that shit?
No.
What do you mean no?
They can't function.
But they're not.
They're busy gooning. They're busy gooning in the orphanage.
Did you see them scatter away from the light? They're like,
yeah, they were like rats. They didn't like their light because I imagine the drops probably dilate their eyes. But yeah, no, I mean, after they catch the Riddler, right? They right before they catch him, when they're in the apartment that he shot Falcone from, because he snipes Carmine Falcone, and they're looking through all the schizo stuff on his walls. And then there's just a note that I think it says something like we're going to unmask them all or something like that.
Yeah.
And Batman stands there next to a bunch of cops, or next to Gordon and a bunch of other cops, and he's just staring at that one note, and he's like, maybe this is all coming to an end. And then Gordon's like, what is? And he says, the Batman. I'm like, he thinks that he's going to be unmasked. He thinks that the Riddler knows who he is. And that's why when he shows up to talk to the Riddler in the cell, the Riddler's like, I know you. I know who you are. And he's like, how do you know? He's like, you couldn't possibly know who I am. And then the Riddler doesn't know who he is. He does not know that he's Bruce Wayne at all.
All right, then I misinterpret that because I thought that's.
No,
I also
the
thought
Riddler has no clue that Batman is Bruce Wayne. Not a single idea. Genuinely, he does not realize that Batman is Bruce Wayne because the whole time he is trying to be comrades with Batman in, showing the corruption of the Waynes, showing, this supposed conspiracy of the Waynes being evil, and then he goes to try to kill Bruce Wayne. That like he doesn't know that they're one and the same. He's using Batman as a pawn to enact this huge plan. So if he were to kill the guy that he supposedly knows is Batman, that would foil his own plan.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't thinking straight at that point.
I mean, there's no point at which he's like, you're Bruce Wayne. The movie builds it up because it's showing you that Batman thinks that the Riddler knows. Batman is assuming that this schizo guy on the internet with 500 YouTube followers in a fucking sweaty army surplus mask has figured out his whole deal.
And I love when they do the little when they show the live stream because it's so perfect. Like with the greasy hair dangling in front of his face, like
foggy goggles.
Yeah. I'm really happy that you're here, guys. I'm really, really happy. You guys are just like that you were listening to me, and we're all going to do a really good job. It's going to be great.
I'm really glad you helped me to figure out the detonator devices. And they're like, whoa, detonator devices.
Thanks for your advice on the detonators, guys.
It's
really good.
This is truly a film about male loneliness and the search for just friendship.
And how the fuck did he afford an apartment that big in fucking New York?
The Riddler?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the Riddler.
Didn't they say he worked at somewhere that was actually decent work or something?
I think that there is an explanation where he had a job that was pretty high paying and then he basically crazied out of it.
Well, and you know what else was a giant waste of time was, so you're telling me he carries 2 IDs in his wallet. One of them is his actual ID, just so it takes him a little bit longer to figure out what his real ID is. It's they make such a big deal about it. The cop pulls it out. He's like, which one of these is you? And he's like, you tell me. And then 8 hours goes by and they're like, yeah, it's actually this one. We don't know why he has the other
That's actually pretty
ID.
Realistic though. The time lapse to investigate it and then come back with an answer that's very anticlimactic.
Yeah.
That is true. So you mentioned detonators. The film obviously climaxes. The climax of the film is that they blow up the
much like most climaxes.
Yes, they blow. Thank you, Kody. You're great. That's a good one. They blow up I forget what the word for it is, but basically the sea walls, the levees of the city. Yeah. The levees. They blow up the levees in Gotham. Thank you, Kody. You actually came in with the real word. They blow up the levees of Gotham and flood the entire city and basically kill thousands of people. And they don't end up killing the mayor or the soon-to-be mayor. I don't remember if she gets elected.
The mayor-elect.
Yes, the mayor-elect. They don't end up killing her, but other than that, thousands of people do die, and Batman fails to stop it. So in that regard, Batman fails to investigate the whole film. He can't stop the one really pathetic villain that he's facing off against. The movie ends basically on a note of oh, well, I realized that I should be a hopeful figure, not a fearful figure.
And he's like, I am making a difference.
He was wrong. He's wrong.
That was the one time that I was like, oh, okay, well, the message here is better because in the beginning when he saves that guy and the guy's like, oh, don't hurt me. And Batman doesn't take one moment to be like, hey, bro, I'm not going to hurt you. He literally just stares at him and then looks back up at the bat signal and is like, Gordon needs to talk to me. I need to run off. Doesn't say one thing to console the guy.
Not even a ma'am, you have suffered an emotional trauma. Not even a RoboCop level answer. Absolutely nothing.
So that's where I was like, okay, if there's one good thing to take away from this movie, at least it's that Batman realized at the end, hey, I guess this whole thing that I'm doing is more about helping people in this, because it actually showed him at helping recover people in with the National Guard, moving people and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, that's a step forward from most superhero movies, because most superhero movies are literally just we're gonna blow everything up and then we're gonna go home. And then, so at least the message was oh, well, I realize now it's more about the people than it is enacting vengeance on the criminals, right? So that was the one moment in the movie that I was like, oh, okay, like at least it buttoned it all up, and it identified that I wasn't incorrect. Like I thought the movie was blind to the fact that Batman was just staring down this guy that he just saved and was like,
no,
the city needs
Austin,
me.
the movie is so intentional and so consistent about showing that Bruce Wayne is not doing this to serve anybody else. Like every character that mentions Bruce Wayne to Batman, or every character that mentions Bruce Wayne at all, speaks very negatively about him. Like there's, I think when the mayor-elect comes up to, is it the mayor-elect that comes up to talk to him, or is it some woman from the charity? The mayor-elect comes up and is like, hey, why aren't you donating any money? Like your parents were incredibly charitable. You haven't done shit.
Right.
Like you are not generous at all. You have billions of dollars and you don't do anything to help this city. Like what's going on? Can you help? Are you going to do something?
And then he again just watches the dead mayor's son from across the room.
Yes, he does his weird little, but and then there's also like when he meets Catwoman when he's Batman, and she's basically like, yeah, those fat cats like Bruce Wayne sitting up in their towers doing absolutely goddamn nothing for this city.
And then he just side eyes her.
He literally looks like he's dying inside. He's just dying.
I hate it when people talk shit about me to me and they don't know it.
I think those two are perfect for each other because they have no chemistry whatsoever. Batman follows her to her apartment, witnesses her kissing her girlfriend or comforting her girlfriend, and then like stalks her after being a voyeur on another building, stalks her to another building and stops her. Also, when he's following her on the motorbike, he is not subtle at all. He's like 5 feet behind her.
Yeah.
Like literally right behind her. There's no way she wouldn't notice that there was somebody like chasing her on a motorbike.
Oh, wait, hold on a second. I'm sorry to stop the flow here. Is my audition not open? What is happening? Wow, I feel miserable out of nowhere. I don't know if it's that dark chocolate or not.
It was probably the dark chocolate, probably the technical difficulties. It can really drain you of your energy. But I'm going to need that energy right back, Austin, because now that we've overcome our technical difficulties, and apologies for whatever lapse happens in the edit here, we've talked a bit about the Batman here, about bad detectives. Batman is a bad detective, and he fails at doing what he sets out to do. Ultimately, he learns a little bit about himself and grows by the end of the movie, but he sucks as a detective. He's bad at his job. Now I want to talk about a different guy who's bad at his job, and that's Max Payne in Max Payne 3. Do you want to give us a quick, just basic rundown of what the game is about?
So Max Payne 3 is about Max being... This is just after... Well, I say just. It might be a couple of years after Max is forced to retire after... He decided to, much like Lieutenant Gordon, actually took a criminal side in something and ended up shooting a fellow detective. And the game very much brushes this underneath the rug of like making it okay. And I've never liked this twist. I always thought it was really cheap. In the end of Max Payne 2, I know we're not talking about Max Payne 2, but I just want to talk about this briefly. In the end of Max Payne 2, Max shoots Detective Winters, who is basically shown the whole game to be like the golden boy of the NYPD, right? So like she's the top detective. She always does everything by the book, perfect, like does everything really well. She doesn't have any cold cases, like is just really good at her job, right? Max ends up shooting her at one point because she finds him not once, but twice with Mona Sachs, who's like a hitman for the mob, helping her both times. And this time she's like, hey, I'm not taking any shit. I'm taking in Mona. Like, I'm just not having it anymore. And so Max is like, oh, fuck, and shoots her. And so then like goes full balls to the wall again into like the deep conspiracy. And it turns out at the end of the game, you find a phone call between Detective Winters and Vlad, the main antagonist of the game, where she basically like, again, like if you're going to have a secret relationship with a mob boss as a detective in the police department, don't leave a fucking voice message on his phone that anyone can get into. And so Max basically plays the phone or the voice message, and she basically confesses like she's having a love affair with Vlad and that she was actually doing a whole bunch of stuff to cover up things. And this is all basically an excuse so that Max doesn't have to feel so bad about shooting a fellow detective.
Yeah.
And I fucking hate that.
Ostensibly
twist.
in cold blood, because he wouldn't have known that at the time.
No, he had no idea at the time.
Yeah.
Absolutely no idea. And so then it does all that at the end of the game. And so basically the police department is like, this is such a fucking mess. Like, sure, you solved a small crime here. I guess not a small crime. You solved another conspiracy, but at the cost of like blowing up multiple city blocks and shooting another detective. Like, how do you bring any of this to the press and not make it sound psychotic? And so the chief was basically like, hey, we're forcing you to retire, buddy. Like, get out of here.
He completely torpedoed the stability and the integrity of the entire police department.
Yes.
Single-handedly, basically.
Yep. I mean, the criminals helped, but he didn't do them any justice. He didn't do the police department any justice. And so he gets forced into retirement. This is a couple years afterward. And
I think it's 5 years. I think the game says.
Okay. Yeah. So for 5 years, he's been doing nothing but like drinking in bars and feeling sorry for himself. And
drinking in a specific bar in Jersey.
Yeah. And he has seemingly become so notorious, even worldwide, to the point where there's a criminal organization in Brazil and they go, you know who'd be perfect to fuck everything up for us? That guy in New Jersey.
So Max gets hired ostensibly for a personal security detail for this very rich family. It's in Brazil.
Yeah, it's in Brazil.
Yeah,
in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Very rich family in Sao Paulo, and he's supposed to protect the patriarch and his wife, basically his his younger wife. Who's very clearly like a sort of a gold digger. But I think it's implied or outright stated that she's having an affair with his younger brother. Yeah,
it's kind of implied. They never outright state it.
Yeah. But Max's job is basically just to get drunk all day and hang out around these rich people that he finds insufferable.
Yeah.
He gets approached in that bar, ends up getting, of course, in a massive shootout because some guys that look straight out of the Jersey Shore reality show up, and they start bullying him for being a shitty cop because they know who he is, and they make fun of him and immediately make fun of his family, which he takes. But then I think they end up hitting a woman, and that's what makes him just take a gun out and shoot the guy, which starts a whole basically like gang hunt for Max throughout New Jersey. So he decides to take the job that he's being offered.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the guy did have a gun out when he hit the woman. So I probably also would have taken a gun out and shot the kid because of those circumstances. But no, my favorite, you skipped over the best line in the whole fucking game, where all of a sudden they've got this altercation and the woman stands up and in the most Jersey fucking accent ever is like, I'm not frightened of you, you spray tan Guido douche, you asshole, you no dick asshole. And then that's what causes Tony to freak out and pistol whip the girl. And then Max takes out a gun and shoots her. But I just thought, I'm not frightened of you. Spray tan Guido douche.
Yeah, so Max just has a drunken bar altercation with some douche and kills him. And then so he ends up taking the job and going to Brazil. And he completely fails to protect the guy. The guy gets there's 2 kidnap attempts like within a week of each other.
And one of them he admits to being drunk during as well.
Oh, he's drunk during both of them.
Well,
if you remember, he's like super drunk during the first one.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you drinking on the job? He's like, what? And then they're like, you better be.
No, in the nightclub, right after the girls get nabbed, Passos picks him up in the helicopter. And as soon as he gets in, he's like, yeah, well, were you drinking? And he's like, you bet your ass I was. You try staying in there for 5 minutes sober. So like he literally goes into the nightclub, immediately starts to get fucked up, and actually has a fantastic line that I love when Marcelo's like, how do you do it, man? You're a man of the world. How do you do it? And he's like, look at me. I'm in a nightclub, hanging around people I can't stand, listening to music I can't stand. I'm 5,000 miles away from home. I'm armed and I'm drinking. You don't want to take advice from me, amigo. And I'm like, honestly, probably the best self-aware fucking line that he's had the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, so basically like the brother of the patriarch gets kidnapped along with the wife, right? And then he has to go chase them down and rescue them, which he does successfully. But then they get kidnapped again at the nightclub. And this time he can't rescue, who is it? Is it the wife or the wife's sister? One of the two, or are both of them still captive at the end of that mission?
Giovanna and Fabiana, who are the two sisters. Fabiana is the wife to Mr. Bronco, who's like the head guy, the patriarch that he has
Max's
to protect.
boss.
Yeah. So they're getting loaded onto a helicopter, and so they see this. So they kind of intercept it. They're like shooting at him, and Fabiana gets loaded on the helicopter and flown away. Giovanna is still on the helicopter pad, and they manage to kill all the perpetrators and then like basically save her. But Fabiana is gone. So she gets re-kidnapped successfully this time, and they go through multiple attempts to get her back, which ends disastrously because there's a moment I can sympathize with. Because I felt this before, I just think that Max implemented it so poorly. Like I don't know if you remember when he goes back to the favela after he decides like he's going to go clean and shave his head and not drink, but he's still going to take pills because he needs superpowers.
Yeah, he's sober. He's sober, quote unquote. Yeah, yes, I do remember. And his first thing is to follow a small child down an alleyway because he shows the kid a picture of Fabiana. And he's like, have you seen this woman? And the kid's like, I got girls, nude girls. Yeah. Like, and he follows this kid down an alleyway, immediately gets mugged and has all of his shit taken. He's really good at being a detective, by the way. Like really, really good. Like almost Batman levels of good. If that tells you anything,
levels
Kody.
of good.
No, okay.
No, Columbo actually solves everything without
Columbo
everyone else
is
telling
the
him.
inverse of both of these guys. He never kills anybody. He hates guns, so he shares that with Batman. He never shoots anybody, and he's an excellent detective. He's on top of that shit from basically moment one every single time, and all he does the entire episode every time is gather the proper evidence to prove what his initial theory is, which is pretty much always correct. Almost always correct.
Do you think Columbo is a better detective than Sherlock Holmes?
Well, I think Sherlock Holmes is fictional. Columbo was definitely a real guy. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah, I do think that. And I also... So Batman's a bad detective in that he can't figure anything out. But like the consequences of him not solving a riddle are mostly just that like he has to get help or like, you know, kind of work his way there more slowly. He gets there eventually, even if he fails. Like he gets from point A to point B. When Max is a bad detective, he doesn't wait for somebody's help. What he does is he just bumblefucks his way forward and just shoots everyone.
Yeah, until inevitably somebody gives him information.
Usually accidentally. Usually it's just incidental that he shot somebody and they drop something in the room or they say something as they're dying that makes him think, oh shit. And halfway through the game, Max realizes that he wasn't actually hired to be a bodyguard. He was hired by the brother of the patriarch to be a patsy, so that when everything went to shit,
for the exact reason that you just stated. So they assume that he's just going to go in and start shooting stuff. And they thought that at some point he was going to like die in a drunken stupor in a gunfight, which probably would have been pretty accurate had he not, in his own words, survived by dumb luck in the explosion at the Bronco headquarters, which also even backfires for him because there's a little Easter egg in the game that because you can watch TV, and it's kind of been a staple of the Max Payne games. You can turn TVs on and they'll play like
Remedy really likes to do that.
Yeah. So in the middle of a giant favela raid in the second half of the game, if you decide to turn on a television and take a moment of respite so you can watch the news, they actually have a moment where they show Max coming out of the wreckage of the Bronco headquarters, and they're like, "This is the guy. This is the guy that killed. This is the Mr.
terrorist."
Bronco." Yeah, and so but when they put up the police sketch artist rendition of Max Payne, it's Sam Lake's face on the TV, which I think is hilarious. But so like even in the moment where their whole conspiracy backfired and Max is deviating from the path that they set for him, it still just is like a whole bumblefuck mess of like, oh, now they think that he's the criminal, and he's still going according to plan because he finds more ways to fuck himself.
Well, here's the thing. He, at no point does he actually like he truly does just luck into things working out at the end.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have a plan to take down he uncovers a massive conspiracy basically involving organ harvesting and all of this stuff. And at no point does he actually get to like a point where he can do anything other than shoot people. And at a certain point, he enlists the help of a clean detective on the police force who helps him infiltrate the police station and then kill literally dozens, if not hundreds of police officers. I mean, it's to the point where Max is possibly the greatest American terrorist to have ever like existed. The amount of people that he kills in the military and the police force in Brazil is unprecedented.
It makes for a good parallel of, so you got like the UFE, which is the police department's special gang task force, right? And they show in the game that all the ones that you get involved with are basically helping in aiding to scoop up people in these arrests and give them to the Cracho Preto, which are the paramilitary group, to sell to the organ harvesting people. But it never stops to ask the question of like, okay, in this like regiment size police task force, how many of these guys joined because they lived in the favela and they saw how rampant like the gang influence was, and they were like Batman in regards of like, oh, I just want to make a difference in my home communities, and this is the best way to do it. The game paints it as if every single one of those guys is completely in on the scheme of making money from this whole thing. So when you go to the UFE headquarters and you shoot everybody in it, I've often thought about like, oh, well, what if there's this one dude that literally like, sure, against his better judgment, maybe isn't doing the right thing, but he believes that he's in the fight for the right reason. And you get this one dude that turned himself in, escaped custody, shot up the entire precinct, and then kills his boss in a boss fight battle. And yeah, it's just like there are some things that
that's the happy ending to the game.
When you stop to think about it, you're like, oh, okay, well, the ending of the game is you basically shoot up the precinct and then you go to the airport. But this is the quote that I'm trying to find. Yeah, with a Milcor Mark 36
insane
rotary grenade launcher.
So Max, he just fails upward basically. He fails forward into breaking down a conspiracy, but not really addressing it in any way, shape, or form other than killing all the people that he encounters. And throughout this whole thing, he's drunk and on pills, although halfway through the third game, he does stop drinking. Or like 2/3 of the way through. Because he's just fucked up too many points at that point because he was drunk. So that's the background on these two characters in this respective pieces of media. I think we should actually get to the point of this, which is who would win in a fight?
Well,
right?
Can I say this quote real quick just to kind of...
Yes.
To hammer home. So it's a little bit long, but this is like right before the very end of the game when you're going to kill Becker, who's the leader of the UFE at the airport. And Max realizes after he shot his way through an airport terminal that he probably could have just driven to the hangar with De Silva. And he says, after stepping off of a tram, he goes, "It had taken me right into the heart of it. Becker's gimps were everywhere. So he and Bronco must be close. Smart move would have been sticking with De Silva and going straight to the hangar. But when was I ever about smart moves? I'm a dumb move guy. Hey, Max, we'll drive into the runway. No thanks. I'll walk into the entrance. I'll put a big shit-eating grin on my face and let these assholes take turns trying to kill me. That's my style, and it's too late in the day to hope for change."
It's important to point out that he is sort of a machine for great one-liners. I had a hole in my second favorite drinking arm. That kind of thing.
That is a good line.
Yeah, that is a good line. Kody, I understand you're not familiar with Max Payne, but with the image that we've given you here, maybe you can be an active participant in our discussion about who would win in a fight between Robert Pattinson's The Batman or Max Payne from Max Payne 3.
Max Payne just sounds like a vengeful fucking moron who just pain trips his way through life, unfortunately, to everyone that may or may not encounter him. Batman is just a sad, depressed incel that likes to beat people up.
That's true. I think it is canon also that the Batman hasn't had sex.
Yeah.
It seems pretty clear when he interacts with Catwoman in the movie.
I guess that's true, yeah. It looks like these guys have an eye contact problem.
The only pussy he gets is Catwoman.
But he doesn't, though.
But like
she
he
leaves at the
interacts
end of
with
the
her.
movie.
That's it. Like they just interact. That's it.
I love when he looks right at one of her 17 cats and goes, "You got a lot of cats."
Yeah, okay, first of all, that bitch is weird. She drinks milk, just drinks milk. That's weird.
Yeah, I do that.
Okay, well, I've clearly spoken to the wrong crowd here.
Got him, idiot.
She just had a traumatic incident where somebody broke into her apartment and kidnapped her girlfriend, and her first thought is to bust out a big, tall glass of presumably whole milk.
So that, hey, I drink whole milk, but that wasn't my issue that I had with it. My issue is that she left the fucking fridge open the whole time.
Yeah, that is pretty fucked.
I don't give a
fuck. Think about how gross that milk has got to be if that's a regular habit of hers. Room temperature milk. What is she, European? Come on. But
pure fucking curdled.
But yeah, no, I think Batman is an incel.
Batman gets shot a lot in this movie.
He does.
Multiple times. At the end, like point blank styles.
Yeah.
Body armor.
Yeah, but even then, it shows that with
then he does steroids,
yeah,
drugs to win. So he also does drugs. So I would just love to think that because Batman doesn't use guns, but he uses that grappling hook thing where he just shoots it through that guy's leg like 15 fucking times.
That is insane. That is way more gruesome than using a gun.
And he does it to that one dude that's like falling down. He just shoots him through the fucking leg. So like that dude's hitting like terminal velocity immediately.
And I know that Batman didn't technically pull the trigger on this gun, but he does shoot somebody and kill them in this film. So like he is wrestling with a guy. I think the guy has like a Remington 700 or something. I could be wrong. And he basically redirects the guy's muzzle to one of the other guys and allows him to pull the trigger. Yeah,
that's when they're in the stadium, right? Up on the rafters.
Yeah.
And it kills the guy. And not that I'm particularly upset about the fact that he does that, because I mean, like, good on you. If you can utilize somebody else's weapon, go ahead. But the deal that I have with it is Batman's always had that, like, the moral high ground, or you can't see it, but I'm doing quote unquote of like, I don't use guns. But you're going to utilize somebody else's gun to overpower him into shooting somebody. And then you're going to like absolve yourself of that and be like, no, I didn't do it. Now I'm going to help the national. Yeah. And he doesn't even say that. He would literally say like, oh, well, the other guy shot him. It wasn't me. I didn't use the gun.
I just curved the bullet. Look at me.
I don't know if the movie even grapples with that. Does the movie even take a moment to like pay attention to the fact that so presumably that guy lived. Let's just assume that guy lived and didn't die.
I think there's like a close-up of him falling over the edge with the grappling hook that Kody was talking about, and he's slumped over and dead. Like there's no
oh, he might be alive.
He might be sleeping.
Alive. What if it was just beanbag?
They are just now airing the Penguin miniseries, which I've been watching, and it's amazing. You guys should watch it.
I've heard that it's phenomenal.
So there's potential for that guy to show up.
Can you imagine how specific that reference would have to be? Like,
a guy shows up, he's just got a massive tear in his leg. He's like, I got no nerves in my muscle. And he's just got a gunshot wound in like his shoulder.
I think Batman would
It's been a rough week. You think Batman would win? Why is that, Kody? Come on, give an explanation of your reasoning. That's all I'm asking for.
With the abilities that have been shown, the fact that Batman took a bridge to the face at, again, terminal velocity and just rolled it off 55 feet down the street, I'm pretty sure with the body armor he'd make it up close and personal, and then he could just,
Well, you say that, but he also
CQC.
got knocked off his ass with the fucking like a shot from a shotgun, and so like if we're talking Max Payne
then he
3,
fucking roid ranges.
yeah, okay, it takes him like a good traumatic PTSD moment to inject that, and if Max has anything, it's reflexes. So I think if Max was attentive enough to shoot him with like a shotgun, that he would have the ability to walk over there and then shoot him in the face. Like the guy was going to shoot him in the face, and then someone came up and shot him. And like there was a whole several times where Batman was staring longingly at somebody that was about to kill him and didn't utilize any sense of urgency to actually change the fact. Somebody else had to come and like stop that from happening. So
Yeah, and I think Max especially has insane reflexes, all while being on very heavy painkillers, like heavy opiate doses where he's constantly just basically eating pills like they're Tic Tacs.
yep.
And that dulls your senses pretty bad from what I hear. And so I can only imagine what his senses would be like if he were not on drugs. Although who knows, maybe those pills are what give him the excellent focus that he has, you know? But yeah, I mean, I am kind of hard pressed to believe that Max wouldn't have like insanely quick reflexes, but also I do think that Batman is basically in head to toe body armor with like a very small area to shoot if you were going to shoot him.
I could literally, you want me to start up Max Payne 3 and I'll show you that I can shoot the guys in the exact spots.
Okay.
The Batman is unarmored.
Hold up. Austin, I think this should be something that we should do. I think what we should do for one of the first game exchange activities won't be an exchange. What it will be is a challenge. And it's the Batman challenge. Do you think you'd be able to do it?
Yeah.
Can you go through the entire game only shooting guys on the lower half of their face or in the eyeball?
Yeah.
You think you could do that? You don't shoot them anywhere else. If you shoot them anywhere else, you have to restart the level.
Except for the final boss that you have to shoot in the grenade and not in his. Although actually, you can execute him at the end of the game. So as long as although I think it hijacks your cursor, so you might have to shoot him like square in the middle of the face. So
wait,
maybe
you can execute him at the end of the game?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
When he's walking around him and he brings his pistol up, you can actually. Excuse me. You can bring up the trigger, or you can pull the trigger and kill him.
I just assumed it would stop you, so I didn't even bother trying. Wow.
I am really sorry. I have to go to the bathroom real quick.
No, that's okay. Go run. How's your tummy feel?
How you doing, Austin?
Dude, I feel so much fucking better. I just absolutely puked my guts up. Whatever was wrong is totally gone.
What did you eat today?
I had some cheeseburgers that were left over from a little get together that we had with my dad.
When was that get together?
Bad choice.
Oh,
when was that?
It was the football game. So was it Sunday? It was on Sunday.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so
you're fine.
1 day old. Yeah.
Yeah. I had 2 Hershey's bars today at Dad's. And then when I got back here, you guys saw me eat those little tea wafers and the other chocolate. When I
ate too much chocolate.
I don't know what. I don't know what it was, but it was fucking brown when it came up. So it like I don't know if it was like it's been a long time since I've had a Hershey bar, so maybe like the very artificial sweeteners like were fucking with me or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I could imagine. Yeah. Wow. I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah, I still have a little bit of a headache, but wow, does my stomach feel way fucking better. And
well, good.
I just checked the waveform. I don't think you can hear me throwing up. It was very loud.
I heard you.
So
yeah, Cody heard what sounded like a yelp.
Oh yeah, it was probably just me throwing up.
He was like, I heard him scream. Do you think he's okay? I said he probably just fell in. So I think now that you're feeling better, we just took a little break so that Austin could cure himself of dysentery. And now that you're feeling better,
popping
we can
pills like Max Payne.
I spun myself around in the survival viewer in Metal Gear Solid 3. If you need to get Snake if you get food poisoning and you don't have any like medicine to help you do that, then you go into the survival viewer and it brings up like a little 3D animation of Snake. And if you spin him around a whole bunch really fast, when you come out of the survival viewer, he'll throw up. So I just needed to get that food poisoning out of me, you know?
Yeah,
I remember I got too drunk a couple months ago on a Sunday night. I know, bad call. I got so drunk that I needed to force myself to throw up to like be sober by the time I woke up the next morning. It was also only like maybe 10 o'clock at night. And I was like,
yeah,
I need to fucking just empty my stomach and start over. I was like, this sucks. And I'm with you. Forcing yourself to throw up is.
Oh, I didn't even force myself.
Oh, you just did it.
No, so that's why I left so abruptly. Like right when I finished my thought, and I was like, I have to go to the bathroom now. It's because I could feel it like working its way up. So I was like, all right, I need to go. I'll be right back.
He was so disgusted by your
Damn.
take on Max Payne versus Batman that he had to go. He made him sick.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? That could have been a gold moment if you had stayed to vomit all over your computer and your camera.
I thought about it, but I didn't have like if I had a bowl, I would have thrown up right in front of you guys probably.
When was the last time you threw up before that?
The last time I did was like right after I got out of the army and I was talking to Raleigh on the phone. I was talking to Raleigh when we were catching up, and that's when I was like, oh, I ran out of a mixer to use with my vodka, but I don't want to stop drinking, so I'm just going to drink the vodka straight. And then got way too fucked up. Because it's like, I was having a good time. He was drinking some, and so it was like, oh, fuck it, I'll just keep it going. And then I just kept like sipping it, and it then just absolutely, like I told you, there's like a moment I came back to, and I was lying in the hallway where the bathroom is and the entrance to the basement. And that's when I realized like, oh God, when did I hang up the phone with Raleigh? How long have I been slumped down here? And as soon as I woke up, I was like, I have to throw up. I didn't even get a chance to stand up. I literally turned my head to the side and threw up in the fucking hallway. And I was like, oh no, I'm an adult.
Oh no, buddy. I think
that's a good thought to have.
Liam?
What? Last time I threw up?
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time I actually threw up. I tried to the night of one of the weddings that I went to a couple months ago. I tried to throw up because I had a lot to drink throughout the day, but I was fine the whole time. But it was the end of the night, like maybe 20 minutes before, or like 30 minutes before I actually ended up going up to go to bed because it was like 1 a.m. or something. The groom cracked a Modelo. So I had been drinking hard alcohol the whole night because I prefer booze and mixed drinks to beer. It's just less calories, honestly, and it's tastier in my opinion. But I had been drinking hard alcohol the whole night. This was the first beer I had of the night. I drank half the Modelo, and then my stomach just was like,
oh,
nope, not agreeing with this. Nope. So when I was trying to go to bed, I was just like unsettled, and I tried to make myself throw up, but I couldn't.
Modelo's pretty good. I do like Modelo.
I like Modelo's, but when you've spent your whole day not drinking beer and then you decide to end it with a little nightcap of a beer, it's just not the right move.
Nope.
I threw up while you guys were here a couple months ago.
You tend to do that.
I don't remember.
Kody. Oh wait, I wasn't there for it. I know that Kody every once in a while will like escape and make your tummy feel better. It's happened like twice.
This one was, you guys had abandoned me outside by the fire.
What?
For about
I remember that.
half an hour.
First of all, we didn't abandon you. We didn't abandon you at all. You told us to leave you out there. I want to be very clear about that. You told us to leave you out there.
You guys were coming back at some point.
Leave you out there. You said to us,
but you guys
as we were getting up to go get drinks inside, leave me out here. I want to stay out here.
I sat there for probably half an hour, and then I was like, oh no. I left the fenced-in area.
This, yeah.
I went over to where I have the hammock stand, and I was like, all right, this thing better fucking hold me up while I puke my brains out. And then I was like, oh, and I went, okay, I feel better. And then I sat by the fire and I could have stayed out there all night until one of you fucks came out and got me. I don't remember who it was.
It was me, I think. Yeah. But actually, every time I throw up, it reminds me of Max Payne because there's a great one-liner after that where like there's a little montage of him drinking in his apartment and he throws up, and then there's like no narration at all in the scene before this. It's just watching him get drunk and do a bunch of shit. And then he chimes in right after throwing up in his fucking sink in the kitchen. And he goes, and with that, I guess I was ready for bed. And he goes and runs into his room and then just falls on the fucking on the bed and then wakes up the next morning. And I'm like, God damn it. So every time I throw up, I think about that.
Do you say that to yourself?
Yeah, like in my own narration. Bed. Yeah. I did also think very organically of just like right as soon as we're done recording, I'm just going to bed because I'm tired.
Well, that's a great segue for us to wrap this up so that you can go be ready for bed and do your own narration. We can get to the meat of this, which is who would win the fight. Now,
you
Kody,
know who I think.
Can you explain your reasoning?
So I think...
Can I just say something real quick? I fucking hate Batman.
But you're still voting for Batman to win the fight.
Yeah.
You're still voting for what is possibly one of the most incompetent portrayals of Batman to win the fight.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's the most likable Batman, in my opinion.
I think
nothing's in the way.
So, isn't something in the way though?
Yeah, but I know that's the lyric, but I'm just saying it.
I think that's.
I've been quiet 90% of this fucking episode. I need to say something.
I think that was the part of the reason.
That's called a choice, Kody. That's called a choice on your part.
Fuck you.
You heard of questions? You ever ask questions? Did you ever ask questions in class when you were in school? Sometimes you just got to ask questions to open the conversation up to yourself, Kody. You guys just do it. Seize the day.
And then if you remember one of the things that you asked earlier, then people are like, oh, holy shit, he is listening. When it's like desperately me just trying to involve myself some way, shape, or form.
Damn right. Austin gets it. Austin gets it. Yeah. Wow, he's a great listener. So something is in the way. You're right, Kody. Something is in the way, and that's Austin's take on why Max Payne would win against Batman.
So I will give Batman this. If they were like in the stereotypical face-to-face in a warehouse and on the count of ready, set, go, we're going to fight each other, I think it would be very difficult for Max. That being said, the man shoots RPG-7s out of the air. I have difficulty believing that Batman would be able to maneuver his way out of Max's bullets. Like, I know he's bulletproof and all this, but he can still be stumbled. If Batman gets in close and is beating him up, then yeah, it's pretty much over. Like in every game, if enemies get right up in your shit, it's pretty much over. That's the whole name of the game, is to shoot them before they get to you, right? There are circumstances where I do think Batman would win, but I just think it is so easy for Max, like you said, drunk and high on pills, to just throw a couple of rounds in that direction and just kill him haphazardly. I don't think Batman stands much of a chance there. And in this iteration of Batman, he doesn't really have the utility belt that, the Adam West version of Batman has, where
he's got no anti-shark spray. That's for
right.
Sure.
Yeah, no anti-shark spray. Like
or for Max to totally defeat Max, he would need like a instant sobriety spray.
Here's your family back spray.
Well, would he spray that on himself?
Yeah, right. Like, yeah.
Oh,
but yeah, it just comes down to my bias of I just like Max better. Like, I think he's a much more endearing fuck up than Batman is in my brain. Like,
he's way more entertaining.
Yeah.
Batman in this movie is like an adult baby, basically. I mean, he's feuding with his butler, telling him that he's not his dad. He doesn't. His best friend in the GCPD is a guy who is so bad at his job that he connects an unverified USB thumb drive to the GCPD server, which then hacks into his email and sends out sensitive fucking photos to every major news organization.
Well, and what angers me about that is that in the Army you have to do cyber awareness, which I think we've talked about on another episode. That is the first thing I thought about was like you pick up. That's literally a scenario.
It is. It's a scenario that every time I've heard it, like they say the same thing at my work. If you find some foreign thing, do not put it in your computer.
Do not plug it in.
Yep.
Do not plug it into anything that is connected to a server.
Yep.
I had to do that for my previous job because like a handful of years ago, there was a breach in the company and I had to do a fucking 3-hour online course. And I was like, yeah, what a waste of my fucking time. Can I just go home and just hang out with Adam, the fucking internet dude, and just fucking come on.
Yeah, that's the cybersecurity class that you should be taking.
Yeah.
You probably had to Adam.
You probably had to do that, Kody, because years prior, some guy found a thumb drive on the ground and went,
dude,
thumb drive.
It's so funny because thumb drive. He's sick. No, but like we all had like individualized email addresses for our work, and my warehouse manager would always get like the spam ones. And then you'd like go to like the assistant warehouse manager and he goes, "Do you think this is like a real email?" And the assistant's like, "Don't fucking open it. What's wrong with you?" Oh, a Nigerian prince is gonna he wants to save the warehouse.
He wants to give us $5 million and save the business. But I guess to wrap up my take on it is I do like the idea that at least Max is a licensed officer of the law if he's going to be dealing with criminals, even if he doesn't do it in the right way. And that I guess I'm not doing a great job of
You're not. Okay, because what you just said leads me to say that he may be a licensed officer of the law, but he is executing extrajudicial killings left and right, completely like outside the capacity of his role as an officer of the law.
Yeah.
So that role is largely superficial.
Yeah, he definitely seeks those situations out for himself, which I love the fact that both of these roles I never understood as a kid. In the Batman universe, I never understood why the cops were like in every single movie, every comic book ever, like arc. There's always like the man, this guy's a freak, and I never understood it as a kid because like you don't get like to me I was like, oh, he may be a vigilante, but he's helping you guys. He does a really good job of helping you solve crimes and catch these people. But now that I'm an adult, it makes total fucking sense. Every time the cops were like, "Oh, you're going to fucking hang out with that freak?" I'm like, yeah, I'm on their side, dude. If some guy showed up to a fucking crime scene in a bat suit, I'd be like, get the fuck out of here. What the fuck are you doing?
Why are you staring at this kid?
Also, in a situation where there's multiple murder scenes where there is specifically a card addressed to this weird rubber suit freak at each scene.
Like, you don't think he's putting them there himself?
That's what I mean. Yeah, I don't know. I cannot imagine a situation where any police officer would be happy to see a guy like that show up to a crime scene.
But yeah, as a kid, I was like, I don't understand why. But on the other side, as a kid, I also didn't understand, like, you've got your Lethal Weapons or because I forgot the Mel Brooks's character's Jesus Christ, Austin. Mel Gibson's character's name.
Mel Brooks in Lethal Weapon.
Gibbs.
Holy fuck.
Gibbs, right?
Riggs.
Yep. So you got like the Riggs characters or the Bruce Willises, the John McClanes, where it's like they do go crazy and then they have to like double back. Or I guess a more tame version of it would be like a Dirty Harry, right? Like the big issue with the original Dirty Harry is like he is essentially harassing a guy that's been acquitted of a crime.
Yeah, and he's trying to goad him into.
Yeah, so he's following him around until he does something. And like the one silver lining there is like we know without a shadow of a doubt that he's guilty of sin. The problem is that he's going against the judicial system by not having double jeopardy to be able to open that case up again. What sucks is like, yeah, he's 100% guilty, but you've got that thing where it's like, okay, Harry, you can't follow this guy around. It's literally illegal. You need to stop. So I never understood that as a kid, because to me, when I watched that movie, I was like, well, yeah, he's obviously the bad guy. But that being said, the real world isn't that simple, right? Because we have seen everything from Harry's perspective, and we know that's the bad guy, and we know he's done something wrong.
That's not how the law works, though.
Right, but it's not how the law works. And in reality, you could be that officer all day long and go, I know that guy did it. I know it's him. But it's like, if you're going to harass somebody after the fact that they've been acquitted, like, that's not okay. So it's just, yeah, as a kid, I didn't understand those things. And now that I'm an adult, I do understand those things. So to see that Max's department actually took that seriously and was like, all right, we got to let you go, chief. Like, this is the absolute best scenario. Like, I don't think people understand this is the best scenario for Max, because he should be in jail. Like, he should be in prison. And that hurts me to say because I like Max, but like, he should be in jail, man. Like,
police brutality.
Instead, he gets to be an international terrorist for a time and then relax the rest of his life on a beach somewhere, which is quite a nice end to his story, I would say.
Yeah, well, I do like that he does start to turn over a new leaf at the end of Max Payne 3, but and
I don't know if I'd go that far, but
I love how cheesy the news cast is too, where it's like after they show, like, what's his name, Victor Bronco, the politician that's in part of the conspiracy, he is like hanged in his cell, and they're like, we don't know if it was self-inflicted or if somebody else killed him. And then the newscaster goes, anyway, in other news, it's rainy here, but it's sunny everywhere else. And then it just like, and Max picks up his duffel bag and walks off into the sunset, like, and then Tears from Health plays, which is an amazing song. But yeah, I love that ending because it's so cheesy. He's drinking his Sprite soda on the beach.
Non-alcoholic, baby.
Yeah.
What was your question, Kody?
I was going to ask, in his retirement, do you think he starts fucking to repopulate the earth from all the killing he did?
No, absolutely not.
No,
I think there's a list of families out there somewhere that's thousands of names long of people who will end up becoming Batmans or Max Paynes themselves just based on his terrible rampage that he committed over like 30 years.
Yeah, this guy's a fucking menace, dude.
He is a menace, and so's the Batman. But just like the law, I think this whole discussion is pretty complex. So I'm going to add a little, a dash of nuance to it. So I will give you credit, Austin. I do think that Max Payne has incredible reflexes, and we see him at what is ostensibly his worst when he is drunk after they have been kidnapped, when they're about to be taken away in a helicopter. He ends up shooting like 12 guys on the helipad while hanging, drunk off his ass and high on pills, which is both of those things are established. He shoots like 12 of them while the helicopter is moving, and he's hanging on for dear life with one arm.
And then he shoots a rocket-propelled grenade out of the air.
Yes, he literally shoots a rocket-propelled grenade out of the air while drunk and swaying on the helicopter. So I think he's pretty skilled. But I also think that Batman is, we don't see much of it in the movie, but ostensibly, his real skill is being prepared, right? You talk about the utility belt with Adam West Batman, and obviously that's played for laughs a lot of the time because he's often got a very specific item for exactly the problem that he's facing. But the truth is that in most depictions of Batman, you see him doing very heavy research on whoever he's like interacting with. Yeah. So I imagine that what it would come down to is awareness. Whether that's awareness of like, oh shit, they're meeting for the first time and they see each other, and Max is like, weird freak in rubber, shoot, bang, and Batman just doesn't see him. Or if Batman is aware of who Max Payne is, I doubt that he's going to be, going around those haunts without some kind of extra protection against super accurate bullets.
And so the actual like setup that we came up with in high school for this fight wasn't that they were seeking each other out. It's that they were both trying to solve the same crime and that they disagreed with how they were going to face the final boss, if you will, right? So like, let's say they're going after the Penguin, and Max is like, I'm just gonna waltz in there and shoot all his goons and kill him, and then fucking Batman's like, no, we can't do that. You can't do that. I gotta put him in jail so he can break out again, so we can do this again. Like that would be the parameters. So it all comes down to, and okay, so now I guess I could see if a criminal organization in Brazil sought Max out.
Yes.
Then I would think that Batman would probably have some idea of who he is, and the fact that theoretically, since Gotham City is basically New York City, and they would be within the same city, and Max would be working for the same police department, that he probably would know who he was.
Yeah, they both suck.
Yeah, Max Payne would have freaking shot Harvey Bullock in the face if they existed in the same universe. No, I think you're right. Well, it is established in Max Payne 3 that Max is like internationally known as a fuck up ex-cop. Yeah. Somehow, like these guys do have awareness of him, which is insane. But like clearly the incidents that he was at the center of in the previous games were big enough stories that they made national, if not international headlines.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did uncover conspiracy.
A massive pharmaceutical conspiracy.
Yeah. And the inner circle is also a big thing. They never seem to be able to catch anybody from the inner circle, but sometimes they arrest people who are like fringes of this political group that are basically running New York from the shadows. So the game does address it a little bit. He's very heavily decorated, but like the news of what he's done is always very heavily juxtaposed with like, and we gave him a whole bunch of like slaps on the wrist for a bunch of things because, he blew up several street corners. And that's another weird thing that Max Payne avoids, where Batman doesn't, right? Like Batman was very explicit in this movie about like people fucking died in this city, right? Like innocents died. In both the Max Payne games, 1 and 2, you never see civilians ever. And the narrative is very like lenient with this of like in the first one, it's because they have a record snowstorm and everyone was told to stay inside because everyone in New York always listens to what they're told to do. So there's literally no one on the streets, which is impossible in New York. But basically
that's the Finnish idea of New York, right?
The what?
Aren't they Finnish? The developers of the game?
Oh, yeah.
That's their idea of New York City. Everyone stays inside when they're told.
They listen sometimes. They like, what was it? Hurricane Sandy. The whole city stopped because everything got flooded and nobody could actually fucking do anything. So they didn't go anywhere. New York City also had a massive blizzard a handful of years ago that did stop the whole city. So I would say that
that's true. I remember pictures of that, and it was all guys with greaseback hair going, "Hey," who were out on the streets during that blizzard.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. No one was on the streets. No one was in the subways in these games. The only people that were the mob people. So it's basically like anybody that you see, bar like maybe the one security guard at the end of the game or at the beginning of the game that's in the subway system that's like, they're running around killing people. And Max goes like, thanks. And then you run past him. Like there are very few innocents running around.
I don't think Max ever reckons with the collateral damage of his actions. In the third game, at least, there really wasn't any like dialogue as far as I remember where he really had to sit down and a real think about like, how have my adventures, affected the people of New Jersey or New York in the past?
You can even kill the bartender and the woman that you fight for in the bar because they're hiding behind the bar. So if you go back there and you shoot them, the game doesn't end. They don't give you a game over screen or anything, and Max doesn't comment on it at all.
Does Paso say anything?
I don't think so, because he's already ran downstairs by the time you're able to actually do that. But so that's like one of those things where I think was just a game oversight, right? Like I don't think that they would allow you to do that narratively because it doesn't make any sense. It's got
if Rockstar made that game now, you'd lose immediately and have to restart the mission. Like in Red Dead 2, if you tried to approach a building from the wrong direction, you would fail the mission. But that's a whole different issue. So I think
was Max Payne there during 9/11?
Yeah, he would have.
He must have been. They don't talk about it, but the first game was released in 2001, I believe. So I don't know. I mean,
can you imagine there's just like a hard boiled monologue in the second game where he's like, And that's where the Twin Towers would have been.
No, he would have been like, I would have been on top of the tower. I would have been on top of the North Tower, and I would have shot the hijacker in the head with my accurate bullets.
If Max was involved with 9/11, a third tower would have gone down. somehow there would have been another massive building that would have been.
You mean Tower 7?
No, there would have been like a Tower 8. There would have been a Tower 8 that would have blown up the Pentagon and the White House. You know, I mean, everything would have
they
gone to
almost
shit.
did.
Yeah. Conveniently, the
wasn't a
part of
plane.
the Pentagon, the part of the Pentagon that got destroyed during 9/11, conveniently housed all the records of the trillions of dollars
Trillions
that were
of dollars
missing.
that were missing. Yep.
Weird.
Yeah.
It's a shame that
Strange.
happened. I don't know.
Yeah. The audit
Where are
that
the
we
plane
were
parts?
ramping up for.
Life's a beach,
Where are the
so
plane
surf
parts?
it. Am I right? But yeah. Anyway, back to the ending, wrapping this up of our discussion here. I think Batman has worked in the past with people who are not like they don't follow his code of ethics. There's tons of instances in comics
Well,
and
he even
stuff
did
where
that
he
with
works with people
Selena
who
in this.
kill. Yeah, you know, exactly. And there are other people like in the Nolan movies, like he fucks Talia al
Talia al
Ghul,
Ghul.
right? Yeah, and like the Al Ghul family is evil. They're assassins. They
trained
literally
by
murder.
Raish.
Yeah,
Or
he was
even
trained by a
the-
murderer.
The moment where he goes to the orphanage with Gordon, and then he's like, "We're not using guns," which is the stupidest thing to say to a fucking cop. Put your gun away. We're not using guns. And then Gordon goes, "That's your whole ordeal, bro. Don't fucking. I'm not falling underneath that."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I like rolled my eyes at that. Like, you're gonna tell a lieutenant on the police force, don't pull your gun out.
Hey, Austin,
Like,
you gotta be
never mind.
understanding.
I have fucking bulletproof bat vest on and the master jujitsu black belt bullshit, but you have a gun as your only means to defend yourself, and you can't use it. Sorry,
Austin,
pal.
you got to
It'll be-
understand, it's a trauma response. Okay, you got to just give him the credit that where it's due. It's a trauma response. But anyway, yes, I think that he would be the Batman would probably be aware of Max Payne given his national notoriety, which leads me to believe that if he were involved in something where they were chasing the same guy and he were to encounter him, it wouldn't immediately go to "I'm going to fight you." That being
Yeah.
said, I do think he would absolutely try to arrest Max if he would, or not arrest him, but like string him up and drop him in a hole in the top of the local county jail or whatever Batman does in The Batman. We don't really see him actually deal with criminals outside of just beating the shit out of them. So I don't know if he's like doing the Adam West thing or what, but I presume he would string up Max Payne or at least try to, which I don't think would go well.
And then, but I would love to see that too. So like he delivers Max Payne back to the GCPD, and then they're like, "Detective Payne, what are you doing? Get out of here! Get out of here! What are you doing again?"
So anyway, yeah, I think to wrap it all up in a conclusion, I think there's many possibilities for what might happen if Max Payne were to meet and have to fight Batman. But these particular instances, I think it all comes down to preparedness.
Yeah.
I think if they're coming in there and Batman knows who he's dealing with, he might be able to get the jump on Max because Max is a pill-popping drunkard. It's not really that hard to surprise him. He's very surprised at many points in the third game. So I don't think it'd be too hard to surprise him. But however, if they were just to encounter each other in the street and have a face-off like you were talking about with your high school thing where they have a genuine disagreement, I think Max would probably be able to ice him straight through his mask.
Yeah, I think it's very circumstantial. I definitely agree with you there. Yeah.
Any thoughts, Kody? Any closing thoughts?
I had something, and then you kept talking, and then I lost it. I hate my brain. What was it?
Was it if Lelouch Lamperouge came into the fray?
How would Luffy factor into this? We're in
yeah,
New Jersey. We're in New Jersey. Batman is
King of the
on
Pirates
on a
in
way
New
trip
Jersey.
to New Jersey. King of the Pirates
Whoa.
shows up to Batman and Max Payne fighting
Well,
off.
Max Payne wouldn't be able to kill him.
Yeah,
That's true. That's true. Max Payne is useless against Luffy.
That's true.
Like
yeah.
Luffy's just fucking punches him and he's dead. Like,
Well, and
immediately.
because he's rubberized, the bullets could just like pass through him, and he would reassimilate just fine. So I don't think.
But I don't know. The bullets would bounce off of him.
they bounce it back. They just ricochet
at Max
off him
Payne.
and fucking he'd be riddled with bullets and dead.
But I think that's a situation where Batman would pretty quickly be able to research the weakness of the devil fruit and exploit it very easily by just
that's
putting
exactly
Luffy in
how
a
he-
net and dropping him in the ocean.
How would he be able to deduce that if this is the first time that he's ever encountered it? Anyway, That's a whole separate conversation.
Because I mean,
He's
I
the
imagine
world's
you're
greatest
pretty
detective.
notorious if you're the king of the pirates. So you'd have to
Yeah,
know.
but like this is a whole.
I know you're the king
you
of the
know?
pirates.
He's also not king of the pirates. He wants to be.
Mm.
I know you're well on
Yeah.
your way to being king of the pirates. You're rising to the top. I've seen it. I've watched you.
Well, Batman is also aspirationally trying to be vengeance, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think that was also a message, right? Was like when the guy very comically, like, they slow down the footage, like, I'm vengeance. And they're like, oh, okay, well, maybe this isn't a good look for me. There's an incel here holding a rifle that's killing a bunch of innocent people.
They all
Says,
call
"I'm
him,
vengeance."
like everyone in the movie, like the Penguin, I think Falcone does too at one point, and then Catwoman, they all call him, like, diminutively call him vengeance.
Well, because I think that's his tagline.
Come on,
isn't it?
vengeance. No, I don't think so.
Doesn't he say I'm vengeance to the Joker dudes when he beats him up?
I think he might, but like, how would they all know about that? I think they're just calling him an edgelord because he is an edgelord.
No, I think I literally think he's going around saying this, and when people like when
I'm
they beat him.
vengeance.
No,
I'm vengeance.
That's genuine.
I'm vengeance.
That's genuinely what I took away from that. Like, he says it to them, and then after that, it's like that's his whole shtick. Is like he thinks he's making a difference this way, even though in his diary he writes about it differently. But like, hey, my whole life is now going to be about beating criminals down, where it should be more about protecting the citizens of Gotham. And I think he says that to them. And then when they interview them afterwards, like you said, when they've got no due process on it, they're like, so what happened? It's like, this guy came up in a bat suit, beat me up and said, I'm vengeance. Broke my fucking radial muscle or radial bone and then fucking ran off. Like, I think that's genuinely what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, he's insane. Did you guys see the meme that I sent before we wrap this up?
Yes.
No.
For good. Excellent meme breaking down the difference here between the Virgin Batman and the Chad Max Payne.
Wait, where are you getting these
that's
from?
for your eyes only. I did my research, Austin. That's where I'm getting these from.
Wait,
all
is
right?
this like an actual thing? Because the only thing I was able to find about this, and the last time I looked for it was when I was in high school. There was a fucking a
Austin,
forum.
it's been 10 years.
I know, but I'm impressed that there's a whole bunch of other people out here that have had this same argument.
Well, I think it's less an argument and more of the comparison is natural to draw because they're both like dark edgelords who are like refusing to examine their own personal trauma of losing their family, specifically to being murdered, you know, and they exact vengeance extrajudicially as vigilantes. Max Payne is a vigilante. I mean, that's what he is. He might have been an undercover cop, but he is acting outside his capacity as a police officer when he's murdering all those people. So he's not much different than like the Punisher. But like, it's a good comparison because they're both kind of freaks.
Well,
it's just one's an alcoholic and one dresses up in a fucking rubber suit. Any closing thoughts from you guys before we actually wrap up here?
Yeah, you already know who I
Max
think
Payne
is
should
going
be
to win.
put in a fucking asylum.
All right,
He
Jesus.
should be put in Arkham.
No,
I think everyone should take pills and see if they're better at shooting guns while on them. That's my takeaway.
I don't think anybody should do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
All right. Well, I hope that everyone has enjoyed this discussion. And as always, if you have any thoughts on this subject, this discussion, I know there are a lot of passionate people out there based on the memes, the AI videos, and all the spacebattles.org postings about Max Payne versus Batman. Please do email us at codysrealemail@gmail.com and let us know who you think would win and why. If there's any details we missed or anything about the movie or Max Payne 3 that you think we need to go over, let us know and we'll include it in our next recording. All right, Austin, you got any final thoughts you want to share before we close out?
Yeah, I'm always going to root for my boy. Doesn't matter. Even if I internally think like, yep, this might not be a good one for him. Money's always going on Max. Got to do it.
I can't believe you're rooting for a terrorist. That's so unlike you.
I mean, they're both terrorists.
Didn't you join the military to like fight the war on terror?
I did. Yeah, I have a ribbon that tells me that I was in the global war on terror and everything.
That's fucked up.
Wow.
You're going against your country.
It just shows that this, like all subjects that we talk about, is very nuanced. All right. Until next time. Bye.
See ya.
You've been listening to Learner's Permit. Thanks for listening. We hope you learned something today. Until next time, goodbye.